The themes for every month are chosen about a year in advance. But I can't think of a better theme for the month of February 2026 than embodying resilience. We are watching that principle being played out in real time. And especially, we're watching it all over the country, we're watching it all over the world. And here in the United States, we're especially watching this principle be embodied by the very brave people in Minnesota, showing us over and over again what it means to be resilient. And as I wrote this in the newsletter article that is out today, but when I was thinking about what I wanted to say about resilience, there is, is it there an 80s or a 90s song? I don't know. I'm starting to lose the decades now. But there's a song that goes, and I'm not going to really try to sing it, but it's like, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And that was the song that kept going through my head over and over again while I was thinking about this newsletter article. And it's the song that I listened to over and over again about 13 years ago when I was going through my chemotherapy treatments. And I remember I'd go up Little Park Road and I'd put my AirPods in and I would just listen to that song among others. But it was just kind of a theme song that you get knocked down and then you get up. And I think that would be an amazing theme song for what's happening in the year 2026. And there are a lot of beautiful songs that can embody what we think about when we think about resilience and endurance. Because as I was thinking about this, I don't think you can really have resilience without endurance. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you can't really have endurance without resilience. Maybe the two of them just go together. And I'm pretty sure we're going to keep adding water to this plant. And by the end of the day, hopefully, this beautiful plant will have shown its strength and its resilience and its roots going deeper and finding that water that it is needing and looking for. And that is what Howard Thurman was talking about back, and he was a prophet and this amazing, resilient civil rights icon almost 100 years ago. I'm gonna read his words again one more time. Resilience is to watch a gathering darkness until all light is swallowed up completely. Then, in that darkness, to continue one's journey with one's footsteps guided by the illumination of remembered radiance. Isn't that beautiful? Guided by the illumination of remembered radiance. And that, I think, is what resilience is that even when and if things are feeling dark, and even if you look at the headlines and you're thinking, oh, it's getting darker. Well, what we do is we take that remembered resilience that's in our hearts and we remember that, and we let that inner light shine, even if we are looking at an external darkness. And if there is an inner light, that inner light cannot be distinguished by an external source. And so what happens is that as if the darkness gets darker and darker, like this plant, we go deeper and deeper, we go more and more inward, and then we become that inner light that then begins to shine, comes down and it shines out, and then we don't need an external light because we have the internal light, and then we become that light, we become that illumination for the people around us. And when the people around us then begin to say, oh, there's some light there. I thought I was in darkness, but I'm seeing a little glimmer of light. Oh, and then there's another glimmer of light, and oh, I'm starting to feel that little glimmer of light, that little glimmer of hope inside of me. And then they become that light. And then all of a sudden, you have all of these little internal light bulbs walking around, lighting each other up. And guess what? When you have all of these little inner light bulb people walking around with that inner light lighting everything up, you're no longer in the darkness. And it's no longer dark, and we didn't even have to pay any electricity bills because it was coming from within. And then we go back to what Howard Thurman said, right? He said, to continue one's journey guided by the illumination of remembered radiance, right? So we've illuminated, we've had our inner lights, and then when it gets dark, again, because this is the world we live in, it gets light, it gets dark, it gets light, it gets dark, but we have that remembered radiance of the illumination. It becomes a part of us. And so when we are going through life and it feels like it's dark again, we can remember what it felt like when we had our hearts illuminated. And if you feel like your heart is shrinking just a little bit, or the darkness is covering you, right? That's when we get to look out at each other, because not everybody is going to feel knocked down at the same time, right? Each and every one of us, I'm sure at some point in life, has felt like you got knocked down. Every one of us. But look around you. Just look around you. Nobody is like laying on the floor right now. So at some point, even when we got knocked down, we got back up. And I'm here to remind you that even as we get knocked down again, my guess is that not all of us are going to get knocked down at the same time. And so if you feel like you've been knocked down and you kind of don't have anything to give except trying to catch your breath and maybe get back up, that is okay. You don't have to be pulling other people up right now. That's when you get to embody your resilience and maybe extend a hand and say, hey, can somebody help me up? And if you are a person right now who hasn't recently been knocked down and you have a little bit of strength, maybe you're the one that's meant to reach down and say, I've got you. I've got you. I see you. You may feel like you're in the darkness, but I have this light right now. I'm going to illuminate both of us. I'm going to help you back up. And it goes both ways. Then I've been the person helping people up before, but I've also been the person that was knocked down. And those of you in this room have lifted me back up. And I'll probably get knocked down again. And you'll be there. And then you're going to get knocked down. And we'll be there. Because that's what we do. And what I'm looking at right now, looking out at all of you, every week we have more and more people in this space, in this room, bringing in and becoming the illuminated radiance that this world needs right now. And that is really exciting because the principle of that is that we don't have to wait for an external hope. We become that internal hope, that internal strength that comes down and then it goes out. And that's where we get fed and that's where we get strong. And that is how we continue to stand up and show up and stay strong and connected. Because if you think about it, if we all have that internal glowing light, then there is no such thing as darkness. So if you feel like you might be in the darkness, I invite you to just think about the fact that you are not sitting in the darkness alone. That even if you feel like your inner light is only on autopilot, autopilot is still a flame. Autopilot is still a flame. And even if you are on autopilot, look around you right now. There are a number of people around you who are not on autopilot. So let some of their light be your strength. And then you get your flame that has gone out. You get your flame going, and we relight it. We relight the chalice every week, don't we? We always relight it because it never goes away forever. So I want to close today with some words from Thomas Merton. And he wrote these during the Vietnam era, and I've shared them over the years a few times. But he understood the need for keeping the perspective that we may get knocked down, we stand back up, everything doesn't happen all at once. And he puts this in perspective, the idea of resilience and endurance. And he wrote to his friend Jim Forrest, he wrote, "Do not depend on the hope of results. When you are doing the sort of work you have taken on, essentially an apostolic work, you may have to face the fact that your work will be apparently worthless and even achieve no result at all, if not perhaps the results opposite of what you expect. As you get used to this idea, you start more and more to concentrate not on the results, but on the value, the rightness, the truth of the work itself. I'm going to say that again. You begin to focus not on the results, but on the value, the rightness, and the truth of the work itself. And there too a great deal has to be gone through as gradually you struggle less and less for an idea and more for specific people. The range tends to narrow, but it gets much more real. In the end, it is the reality of personal relationships that saves everything. In the end, it is the reality of personal relationships that saves everything. And so if we think that each one of us individually has to be the light that illumines the entire world, we are going to be tired. But if we take our own inner light and we move it from autopilot to just a little bit brighter, and then we make a connection with the people around us, and we see the beauty of the individual people, and we stand up and we show up for them, for our family, for our neighbors, for our friends, for the little boy in a cute little hat that doesn't know where his father just went. We stand up, we show up for them. And we do that individually, collectively, millions of times. This world cannot be dark. It can only be infused with light when each one of us decides to show up and turn our own light in. For me, that is how I understand resilience. And so today, let us sing together number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.